Doctor Strange is directed by Scott Derrickson, and it tells the story of an extremely talented neurosurgeon named Stephen Strange, who is portrayed by Benedict Cumberbatch. One night he gets into a car accident that makes his hand shake uncontrollably, that renders him unable to do his job. So when Western medicine fails to give him any results, he travels to the Middle East where he discovers a secret society that aids him in unlocking supernatural abilities. So Doctor Strange is one of those characters, like, it's still shocking to me that we are in a time where we still get movies of really just off-the-wall, obscure characters that not everybody knows about, like Doctor Strange, but also Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool, and Ant-Man. Because everybody likes Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, but it takes a special kind of nerd to really like Doctor Strange. So when they announced that they were going to make a Doctor Strange movie, I was actually pretty excited because not everyone knows who Doctor Strange is, and I'm glad that we're going to get an opportunity to present the mainstream audience with this character on a high budget. And the fact that Doctor Strange is like so cool and so powerful compared to everybody else on the Avengers. Like in the first Avengers film, when all the Chitauri were coming through that big portal in the sky and just laying waste on everything, if he would have been there, he would have just been like, okay, portal's closed, what else? Something that I really liked about the portrayal of this character was Benedict Cumberbatch. Something that Marvel does really well consistently is casting. I'm really glad that they went with Benedict Cumberbatch because they initially had Joaquin Phoenix in line to play Doctor Strange, which I don't know how that would have turned out. That would have been really weird. But he really captures the sarcasm and the egocentric personality of Stephen Strange. I cannot wait to have Tony Stark and Strange together in a scene. So much ego, so much knowledge, and so much wit that I feel like just the banter between them will just be so awesome. This being an origin story, the majority of this movie's runtime is filled up by Stephen Strange learning these abilities and trying to come to terms with his injury. Because you give a character a solo movie that way, when they're in an ensemble film, you don't have to waste time by doing flashbacks and giving character backstory when you could have done that by just giving them their own film. So I totally get that. It's not a negative thing. I'm just saying that I'm excited to see more Doctor Strange because I know that this cool character is at his best when he knows this power, because he's really different, and I really think he can shake up this universe and bridge the gap between certain Marvel characters and have them be in the same movie together. Benedict Cumberbatch isn't the only one that does a great job in this film. Tilda Swinton, who plays the Ancient One, is really good as well. There was a lot of backlash when she was casted as the Ancient One because a lot of people were saying that it was whitewashing, but in my opinion, I don't really care what race or gender you are as long as you do the best job that is possible for that character, which I think Tilda Swinton did. I think she was really great in this film. She was funny, she was serious, she was wise. Chiwetel Ejiofor did a really good job as Baron Mordo. He's actually a character that I'm very excited is finally in the MCU. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about his character much without delving into spoiler territory, so I'm just going to say that I like that he was in this film, and I think that he was a highlight in this story. But the thing that everybody's talking about in the review, and rightfully so, is the visuals in this movie. Because dear lord are they impressive. When the footage was first released for this movie, it got a lot of flack because people were comparing it to Inception, which I get because people are walking on walls, cities are like folding in on each other. I understand the visual parallels, but in my opinion, the special effects in this film kick the crap out of Inception's. Like, imagine if you were watching Inception, but you were watching it through a kaleidoscope. Like, that's what Doctor Strange is. Also, just a side note, if you have the chance to see this movie either in 3D or in IMAX 3D, I definitely would do it. And I'm not one of those people that says, hey, you should go check this movie out in 3D, because I think it's kind of a cynical financial ploy. But this is one of those films that seeing it in 3D really does heighten the experience of the film, so if you have the opportunity, definitely check it out in 3D. And what's great is if you look at Steve Ditko's art for Doctor Strange, you'll notice that there are a lot of parallels to this movie. You might be saying to yourself, well, duh, of course it's going to look like the comic book. It's based off of the comic, so it should. Which you're absolutely 100% right, but I don't think that you would understand how off the wall and different those comics are. Even in Thor, when they were like, hey, magic is science and science is magic, they're one and the same in my world, it only dabbles in the weird mystical stuff of this universe, whereas Doctor Strange jumps full on head first. And I was just really pleased that Marvel stayed faithful to the comics and made something that is totally out there and weird and made it accessible for people who aren't aware of this character. But that's not to say that their attempt to make this movie more accessible always worked 100% of the time. There is a lot of attempts at humor in this movie, and sometimes it works, but more oftentimes than not, it doesn't. And it's not necessarily that the jokes like fall flat, I just think that they're really oddly placed in the scene, and it kind of creates this tonal inconsistency. And I think that certain scenes would hit harder if they didn't have jokes like awkwardly placed into them. And this is actually something that Marvel really struggles with, Avengers Age of Ultron being the best example of tonal inconsistency. I get what they're trying to do, and they're trying to add levity to this movie so it's not depressing the whole time, which I totally get. I just think that sometimes you need to tone it back a bit. Like, if a character is funny and is witty, like Tony Stark, and, you know, is very sarcastic, then I understand that. But there are certain characters that don't really come off as funny. Something else that Marvel usually struggles with is their villains, and unfortunately, Doctor Strange is no exception to this rule. Mads Mikkelsen does do a good job as this character, as he usually does, and he is intimidating when he needs to be. He's not bad by any means, he just isn't particularly memorable. And there's also this character in the third act that I was glad that he was in the movie, but I thought that aesthetically, he didn't look as good as he probably could have. And if you aren't familiar with the character at all, it probably won't bug you, but if you are, it reminded me of Parallax in the Green Lantern movie, how he doesn't look anything like he does in the comics. All in all, I really liked this film. I thought it set the framework for this character very well. This movie is very different from all the other Marvel films stylistically, which is really refreshing. But unfortunately, it does suffer from most of the same problems that plague all other Marvel movies. But thankfully, that isn't enough to weigh down this film. It stays true to the character, it has great performances, it's entertaining, it's incredibly visually impressive, and it makes a character that isn't as popular to the mainstream audiences more accessible for everyone. But if you like the Marvel movies but you're not really a Marvel fan, like you don't really know the lore of Marvel, then I would definitely get excited for Iron Fist, which is an upcoming Netflix TV show. It's just another one of those really weird magical characters like Doctor Strange. So if you like this, you'll hopefully like that. So did you guys see Doctor Strange? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and your opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, click on the link down below, subscribe to my channel, see more movie reviews, movie-related things. I guess thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.